Hi, everybody. How you doing? Hi, Geezer and Kevin, and that's something. Good to see you nice and early this morning. Um, I thought today would be a good time to talk about watch movements, and you know, it's sort of try to clarify anything, or at least get a sense of what a simple movement does, and then we can talk about things from there. Hi, GMT Master. The added on things like a GMT or any other kinds of stuff that we have. Hi, ZL. Oh, well, we had no bears yesterday, so that was good. Look, things are looking up. Hi, Lee. Anyway, we'll chit chat a bit. I did a graph and everything for that. So what's new with you guys? Nothing, huh? MBNF and Moser collaborating is going to be nice. Holy smoke! I, I, boy, yes, that's going to be fantastic. I know that MBNF has been using H. Moser Strauss von Hairsprings, but I didn't know they were doing other kinds of collaboration too. And there's something. Do you know what they are? Hi, Blaine. Why do many movements not fully fit the case? Uh, I think the main reason for it, Blaine, is that if you have an off the shelf movement in an off the shelf case, the cases are usually a certain size to fit some standard movement, and sometimes you can put in a smaller one. So that would be my guess. I'm just guessing now. That's what the new cylindrical hairspring will be used for. They have a teaser. Oh, okay. Hi, Abdul. How you doing? We're having better weather in UK now. That's good. We have. I went outside this morning on our deck, and it was misting with a very, very fine mist that you get with fog. Oh, boy, did that feel good. It was like I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's just a beautiful morning here. And I flipped a little instead of using the garbage disposal, um, we throw things over the deck and all the critters just love it. I mean, we don't throw anything like something that's not good for them, but uh, so I had this banana thing, and whoop, and this chipmunk, it landed right next to this chipmunk. And normally chipmunks, man, I tell you, any kind of anything, and they're gone. They'll either go down a hole or they'll go someplace to hide. And that's how they survive, because we also have this hawk. And so this morning, so then I had an apple, and they love the apples. The squirrels, everyone loved, and even the birds. So I threw an apple out for them when I was finished. The goats love apples. When go in the back and a bunch of picking up some apples off that are falling off the tree and give them to the goats. Man, the goats just love those apples, and pears too. And what am I going on about apples and pears and goats for? Oh, we're going to talk about movements. Uh, Hi, Dominic. Oh, yeah, it's Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day for all of you who are currently or have been in the service. Let's see. Well, my first house here, we had a big degradable garbage disposal system. Hey, chickens that eat the eat everything. Yeah, yeah. We have that's what we have. Hey, Val, how you doing? Um, yeah, it's really funny. My wife and her critters. He got her birds the hawks eat the birds, and I sort of, you know, the birds come because of the feeders, and then the hawks come and eat the birds, or the squirrels, or the man. I tell you, hey, let's see. For companies such as Longa and Son, do you think they design case around the movement, or vice versa? I don't know. You know, that's a good question. The best, just sort of like exactly fit case that I have is on my Beauvais 1930. Boy, I tell you, it's an example of a case and movement were built for one another. And it's, you know, I really like those. The other one was one I had earlier today on High Horology Lounge, was that Georg, which is to me probably one of the most just gorgeous movements, as well as, of course, it fits everything, fits perfect in Marco Lang's watches. Everything. I don't think he makes a watch that. That's why it has so many calibers. They're probably bigger, different sizes. Anyway, hey Lee, how you doing? We have citywide composting here. Between that and the recycling, we barely have any garbage. Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We have apparently this is out of the pandemic somehow. Excuse me. At some point, the companies making paper goods really needed recycled materials, because not too long ago they were talking about recycling. They're not doing much recycling because all of the recycling centers are filled to the rims with stuff and they can't move it. But that's not true anymore. Apparently, for whatever reason, probably because they needed lumberjacks and stuff, or wherever they're getting the wood pulp from. But now they really need to recycle, and that's like to see. We've got a very small footprint, and I like that. We got solar everything. We just put up a solar security light, and it doesn't work unless you're right up against it. So it's would you rather get an automatic watch with a plastic parts or a full metal quartz movement? God, that comes under none of the above, Val. Hi, Pedro. How you doing? Pantera is now making watches from water garbage, found recycled materials for the case, and even movement. Making watches from water garbage? Well, I will not comment on that. Anyone seen the battle between Archie and that Arab dude? Funniest thing we've seen on YouTube. Watch. No. Oh, I haven't seen Archie in a long time. You know, when I first started collecting a long time ago, Archie had some really good information, and I don't know. Then he started doing a bunch of weird stuff. And anyway, but I know a lot of people like to watch those kinds of battles. Okay, here's what I wanted to do today. I wanted to go through, for those of you who don't know, I don't know if you can, I don't know how this looks. The way I'm seeing everything here is all backwards. I hope the writing's not backwards for you. But this is, oops, it's upside down no matter what. This is a little thing that I made, and I'll put it up on High Horology Lounge when I'm finished. But I was looking at that, I thought, well, let's talk about the real basics of a watch movement, of a mechanical watch movement. And yeah, you start down here with the barrel, which provides your basic power, and then it goes up the gear train up to the escapement, and then the pallet fork kicks this around, and then the hairspring does the timing, the frequency timing on it. And so I thought this would be a good point of departure, that we have the most basic kind of movement. Now, what I'm hoping is that once we get, finally decide on the the movement we're going to use. Excuse me. um, yeah, okay, Lee. the Oh, yeah, Lee, this is for the reason the part that the writing was upside down for were the people, the folks in Australia and South America. Okay. So hi Ian, how you doing? Hi End Racket, Kunita. Moser is doing cylindrical hairsprings and MBNF is doing double hairsprings. Wow. What is a cylindrical hairspring? Is that sort of like here you have a flat hairspring and there's a cylindrical one, sort of like that, sort of in a cylinder? I'm not sure. Yeah, I know. Well, and same thing is possible with Archie. I watched it live, and he dropped the N bomb and repeated it a couple of times for good measure. Huh. You know, let's. I don't mind talking about some other folks who have their YouTubes, but let's talk about the parts that they really have done some interesting stuff with. I say that not to be a goody two-shoe, but I have enough problems staying on topic as it is without introducing sort of the hijinks of you know, what used to be a really pretty good watch program. Okay, all right, enough of that. Hi, Tigrum. Cylindrical or helical hairsprings were used a lot in the old naval chronometers. Ah, that's good to know. Do you know what the advantages of a cylindrical hairspring might be? Look at Moser's Instagram. They have a video of it in action. Oh, okay. Thank you. You know, I think they had they did a really great one of their double hairspring, and they showed, and they had this chart, and which I didn't know is that the stem of the balance, yeah, the stem of the balance would sort of move around like this because of the torque, and by having oppositely moving, that was how they kept it in the middle. You know, and the other thing that did a huge amount of change was simply the brigade coil. Just flipping that thing around taking the hairspring, give it a twist at the top. They call it a brigade coil, and they call it something else. Oh, let's see. Yeah. Bragging rights. Oh, GMT Master, don't worry about it. I've got, it's just, you know, it's hard sometimes. A cylindrical hairspring is sort of like taking the overcoil to the next level. It assures that the hairspring breathes radially out of the center and doesn't put drag on the balance staff pivots. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's it. It's the misalignment of the balance staff in there something. Hi, Daniel. How you doing? Fun fact, most Moser tourbillon watches have double hairsprings, right? Yeah. You know, I thought it's funny. I thought, well, they quit making the one, they quit making mine, the Henry double hairspring. And I asked them why, and they said it was very expensive to do that because the engineering required was quite a bit. And here they are using it with a tourbillon. It's expensive anyway, so we might as well add a double hairspring. I'm not sure why they did it, but you know, I think it's sort of cool. You know, this is one thing I would really, really, really like to see is to get a movement, something, you know, not unlike this. Is it upside down? Okay, there it is. Get a movement, something like this, which has nothing but the most minimal gearing and everything else for a three-hand watch. Actually, I like two-hand watches, but I know a lot of people are, you can't tell if it's running or not. Without, you got to turn it over and see if the balance is spinning. But I'd really like that. And then I think what Harbring was trying to do, Richard Harbring, what he wanted was his earlier ones when he was using a Valjoux movement. He had some modules, and so instead of having to buy a new watch, you could add like a Doppel module or some other kind of module on it, which I think was a very cool idea. And of course, I'd rather buy another watch, but that's me. But I like the idea. I mean, he was talking about practical stuff. Hi, Tim. Yeah, geezers. That's right. That was the term I always forget. Isochronism, and you're right. The double hairsprings do improve that. And cylindrical ones do too. That'd be a fun thing to find out more about. I'll see if I can find out, and maybe make one out of popsicle sticks and play around with it. Modular movement design makes sense if you're going to mass produce stuff. I think the Eterna 39 was designed that way. Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know that. Yeah, there's I think though that the reason I did this was that it seems that so many watch collectors don't know or don't care really about the basic movement. And that's, I just sort of wanted to give myself a kick in the pants and sort of like, well, let's see, do you remember all of this stuff? And, it's sort of fun that way. And once we finally hear, I'm supposed to hear today from, I think it's the guy at, let's see, I got an email. I think it's from Vaucheur. I had some questions for them. And I was told that the guy will be back today and he'll get in touch with me. So maybe after we're finished here, I can send him a goose and say, hey, I'd ask about that. Can you give me any more insight into it? When Asia started with modular movements, the Swiss couldn't keep up at first. One of the factors was the quartz crisis. Yeah, the quartz crisis is sort of a funny thing because quartz, on the one hand, they made extremely accurate watches available to everyone. I mean, I remember I had an Accutron when they first came out, and that was supposed to be the cat pajamas for accuracy. And it was okay, to tell you the truth. It wasn't that accurate, but it was all right. And, I used to buy Timexes. Timexes used to be perfect. You wind them up and up they'd go, and then one day they'd break, and you could never fix them. So I wouldn't even try. I just go buy another Timex, and it always kept good time. But again, that's a while ago. Trying to think if that was probably right a little before the quartz era. Okay. Let's see. Anyway, one of the things that somebody asked, and I tell you this, I'll put this up on High Horology. See if you can see it. Okay. There's a part right here, okay? And it looks like, it sort of looks like a bent wire. And what that is, it's a second stop. And what happened, this is one of the things that Lang does, Lang and Heim do it, and a lot of other companies do it, and I don't like it. And this is, well, they call it the more common term is hacking. And this right here shows why I don't like hacking. Okay, see this guy right here? There's a little bent wire going here. What happens with hacking? And you can follow the gears back up here. it whaps, comes right down on the balance, like a stagecoach wheel, to stop it. And I don't like that. And you know, some of the engineers at the Patek Philippe told their boss that, and that's one reason that I don't know if they have gotten it back again. But the thing about it is that it always bothers me. You know, I see when you pull out the thing to set it, and that thing goes clampo, and then when you push it in, the clamp comes off, and off goes the hairspring, and that's so you can have precise, exact timing, so you can synchronize your watches when all of you go over the top, boys. So I'd rather not have that. This one, my Vacheron Constantin, this is my 1921. It doesn't have hacking. Pigeons don't have hacking. Patek Philippe don't have hacking. In our column stop seconds, if you will. German watches, I think every German watch, and correct me if I'm wrong, has hacking. They couldn't. If there are any Swedish watches, I can guarantee they'll have hacking. Oh boy. Okay. The first disposable watch, I don't know if they were. It was, maybe you could fix them by dipping them into oil and cleaning solution. I don't know. That sounds like one of those things to, drink a little Clorox to stave off COVID-19. The oiling stuff, when I took that course on watchmaking, and we took a watch apart and put it back together again, they said, now in the next course we have, which they have never offered since then, was we're going to show you how to oil watches. And they have a picture of how you lubricate a watch and some story about them. And they got a picture of a oiling device with a big drip coming out of it. And the guy teaching the course said, that'll wreck a watch. I had no idea how you can really ruin a watch by over lubricating it. So that's important, I think. And so if you dipped it, Val, if you dipped it into an oil, I can see dipping it into a cleaning solution is one thing, but doing it into oil where you have lubrication, what they have to do is take the entire watch apart, dry off every part, and then put it back together again. That's what we were told. So anyway. Isn't that something? Is that why? Okay. So you think it has nothing to do with it. My God, they have a pretty hefty profit margin now in that something. But, I don't know. Is everything an economic decision that they make? I know a lot of the things are the bean counters making the decisions rather than, the watchmakers. Of course, if the watchmakers make all the decisions, they go broke. They have a good record of doing that, so that may be involved too. There's got to be another way of setting up a stop second by stopping some other gear or somehow that doesn't mess everything up. But non-hacking watches stop the seconds hand when you move them in. Yeah, Val, that's true. If on watches that don't hack, if you move the stem, rotate the crown backwards, man, I tell you, I wouldn't do that though. Simply because one thing I am an expert on, and that's breaking movements. I'm very good at that, and that would worry me. It's possible. I mean, I know that a lot of people hack their watches that way, but that just gives me the heebie-jeebies. Moser and MB&F watches are releasing on June 3rd. Okay, good to know. Um, I mean, uh, yeah, I don't know. I had thought of the same thing. Is that have a hack that would stop maybe stop the third wheel, which is I think the third wheel is the one that does seconds. But it's just one of those things that to me it doesn't matter that much. If I get within hand grenade range of two watches, I'm happy. The only watch that I really try to set up to be perfect is on the resonance, because you're actually setting two watches at the same time, and that's always setting that watch. You got to stop everything and take your time to do it right, and then that in and of itself is sort of fun. Hey, Raj, Quebec now have a much bigger overhead because of their huge new headquarters. Raj, where do they put their new headquarters? Well, they end up with a big bill on that. Everybody else is going to, working from home. They put up a big headquarters. Oh, that's funny. Schools will reopen next week here in the UK, and the kids are all going back to standard classrooms. Is that what they're doing, Geezer? Man, I tell you, uh, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Maybe the Swedes are right. Just let it go through and take your chances. Of course, they lost 10 times as many people as equivalent sized countries with about the same kinds of geographical trade. I don't know. I just, I think a lot of people may end up in huge trouble with it, but I hope not. You can say, well, let's hope it's not as bad as we think. And you can hope that all you want. In the US, we just hit 100,000 people died. I don't know if that's enough or not, but I know it's more than died in either more Americans who died, more so than the Korean War, more so than the Vietnam War. Twice as many, as a matter of fact. So if that's not a big deal, I don't know what is. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Val. Foudroyant hand. Yeah, they set the Foudroyant hand. I bet they do. Sweden has 7.25 antibodies in the population, according to testing. Their herd immunity gamble was a total failure. Yeah, it was an idea. Maybe they'll get it. It'll just cost them more in dead bodies. And since my great grandfather was from Sweden, and so I don't worry about. I got some relatives there. I hate to see anything happen to them. Of course, same is true in this country. As people get sloppy, and oh boy, it's all over. I don't like it any better than anybody else. But I tell you, when I stop and think about, here's some poor guy in an apartment house or a little condo or something like that, and they can't go out, and there's really no space around them that would be rough. That would be terribly rough. We're lucky. We're the country mice, and we got everything we need. We can even go for a walk whenever we want and not run into people. But I know that people who are jammed up, Japan has an incredibly high density population, but they did well by taking the right steps immediately. Man, I tell you though, I'm glad they did it, but I'm sure it'd be rough. And I don't know about you guys. Some of you, I'm sure, have really want to get out of the house or out of your apartment or out of the condo. And I can't blame anybody for wanting to do that. I hope the whole thing will finally, I guess Oxford University, thank you, Oxford, is working on a cure right now or a vaccine, and they're very near. They've been working on it for 4 years, and they're gonna. I hope they have they'll have one so everyone will be safe. Japan never forced their citizens to quarantine. Okay, Blaine, tell me, you live in Japan, don't you, Blaine? How is it they did so well? They had some kind of plan that they did extremely well. Activities for kids sports. That's the thing, is that activity is so important for health. I mean, I walk, that's my activity, and do yard work, but the really activity is extremely important. And I think that that's sort of a weird thing. Here in Germany, it's starting slowly to open up. I'm waiting eagerly mid-June to be able to travel within EU. Yeah, for businesses and so many different things. It's been extremely rough. Imagine being a parent in a home with kids, young kids, and you live in an apartment house and there's not a lot of escape room. Man, I tell you, that's really rough. So I see, same in Quebec, not only outside of Montreal metro area. Well, how do you get a 5-year-old to social distance? You don't. This is the thing, GMT, man. I agree. I mean, God, I tell you, my grandkids, they're well over 5 now. But man, I tell you, they run right up there to you and, hello, Grandpa, right away. That's kids. And kids are very naturally have it kind of want to get together. I don't know. We'll all be in a bubble. And like I said, they got to get the vaccine, and because it's been very expensive. Hey, Matthew, how you doing? You're in New York. We're near New York. We're between New York and Boston, so we can go to either place. Oh my God. And that's what worries me. There's this terrible thing that kids get. And it starts with a rash that NS something was talking about. And what they're worried about is long-term effects of that. This stuff is nasty. Hi, Robin. Yeah, now, aren't you guys from Brazil? Brazil is going, become the new poster child for a lot of this stuff. They also hid the case numbers. This is something else. Yeah, the politicians hiding it, right from the get-go. Back in January, they said, look, this is what we need. We need testing, first of all, so we have some idea of where this stuff is going, who's got it, how to avoid it, and things like that. And they had a number of steps they had, very clear ones. Very few countries, and least of all ours, followed it. And finally, we sort of fumbled along, our leadership did. So God knows what it is. Switzerland-Austria border should open up on June 15th. Oh, that'll be nice. Borders were never closed. Okay. They also hid the case numbers. See, who's saying Japan is perfect? We want to find fault with anyone. Oh, man. Come on now. Let's not get into it's my fault. I'm sorry. I shouldn't open my big mouth about this whole thing because I know it can be very divisive and very frustrating. And so my apologies. Let's talk about watches. I know how to change the subject. The very best watch in the world is an Omega. How's that? Well, that started a discussion. Wait a minute. No, it's an Omega because they have a coaxial escapement and most of the other ones don't. So the best watch in the world has got to be an Omega with a coaxial escapement. How's that? Gee whiz, anybody that usually will start a fight or sort of move things along. Oh, let's see. I should try putting a helical hairspring on my next movement design. Wow, you do Tickum? You do movement designs? That's wild. Hi, KK Ty. Hi, Chris. Uh, yeah, ZL. That's exactly the intention too. I mean, how how else do we change lanes, so to speak? Speaking of changing lanes, guys, um, I I do have to go. Once again, these are the basic parts of a movement. South America, Africa, and Australia. This is what they look like. And anyway, you guys, everybody stay safe and hasta mañana. Oh, wait a minute. This afternoon, if you're around at, I was at 2100 GMT, we'll be having another one in. Take care.